Hello my little learners, you can call me Lovegood and I hope you enjoy this video. Here are just a few things before we get started. Today I'm presenting you with Chapter 3 of How to Raise a Child Nemesis, titled 130 million yen by sabertoothhousecat on AO3. But anyways, thank you for tuning in to listen to me. As always, tags are in the description as well as warnings, but that's enough of my rambles and jambles and let's get right into the fic. This is the summary. Summary. Decorations, a credit card, and many regrets. Let's get right into the fic. Midori Izuku was either an idiot or a genius, and all for one had been struggling for the past several days to figure out which it was. He had eventually stooped to making a bullet point list. Reasons Midoriya was an idiot. He fully believed all for one was his uncle, which he was not, and therefore had volunteered to live in the home of a complete stranger. Reasons Midoriya was a genius. All for One's plan to get Midoriya's mother to agree to let him care for Midoriya had incorporated 17 well-detailed steps and would have taken him months. Midoriya's plan had 5 steps and was over within 2 weeks. Somehow, Midoriya had the ability to throw All for One out of his usual rhythms. Somehow he had shocked All for One more than once, All for One who no one shocked. He hadn't even believed he was capable of being shocked. The proof, All for One thought, was inconclusive. Idiot, genius, both of them, it was hard to categorize Midoriya. He would need further evidence. Luckily, Midoriya's 5-step plan had been incredibly effective, so effective All for One always had to add a third tally to the genius book. His mother had actually been delighted when she found out how much Izuku had connected with his paternal uncle. 2 more visits later, and they had Mitsuki on their side. And from there, it just fell on Midoriya pleading with his mother, who caved surprisingly quickly for someone who was supposed to be overprotective. Midoriya claimed it was the puppy dog eye effect, which All for One found a degrading concept. So, the difficult task of kidnapping Midoriya Izuku was, in fact, not difficult at all. And now he was going to pick Midoriya Izuku up in broad daylight, without issue, all because the kid had developed a 5-step plan that had worked. Midoriya himself pulled open the door at All for One's knock and pushed 2 suitcases at him and a backpack. "I have a feeling you're not going to like my decorations," he muttered. All for One didn't have time to figure out what he meant before Midoriya disappeared again, and then reappeared with 2 more suitcases, a bright yellow backpack, and a delighted grin. "This is everything." "Not quite," Bakugo Masaru said, appearing with another backpack. "You left all these in Katsuki-chan's room." Midoriya took the backpack without looking at it, slinging it over his free shoulder. "Okay, that's everything." All for One propped the door open with his shoulder, but Midoriya apparently wasn't done with his farewells because he ran and hugged Bakugo Masaru. The hugging thing was going to be a real issue. All for One needed to find a way to put a stop to it, and quickly, before he was a victim of another embrace. "Ka-chan!" Midoriya screamed into the house. "What?" a voice shouted back. "I'm leaving." "Whatever." Apparently satisfied with that, Midoriya turned to go. "I said goodbye to Mitsuki-san earlier," he explained, grabbing his last 2 suitcases and pulling them out the door. "And I'll be seeing Ka-chan at school, so—" "School?" All for One echoed as the door shut between himself and Masaru. "Oh, yes," Midoriya said happily, dragging his suitcases into the elevator. "School. It's very important, you know, and Ka-chan will be expecting to see me every day." All for One was struck with the strange feeling that he was being manipulated. "Where do you live?" Midoriya asked, his eyes wide and wondering. "We'll be using a teleportation quirk to get there." How this was possible, All for One would never know, but Midoriya's huge eyes somehow managed to get even wider at that. "Your quirk is teleportation?" he squealed. "That's so cool. How does it work? Do you have to see the location you're teleporting to ahead of time, or can you go anywhere? What about the bottom of the ocean? Or space? What happened if you accidentally teleported into a wall? How far can you teleport? Is it instant or does it take time? How many people can you teleport at once?" At some point during that line of questioning, he'd extracted a notebook from his backpack, and a pencil had already started a new page with the title Oji-san and Teleportation Quirk. "Put that away." Wolf One hissed, moving to snatch it from him. Midoriya pulled back, snapping the notebook closed. "Stealing is bad," he said. Wolf One had done so much worse than steal a notebook from a child, but he found himself stopping anyway. Maybe the shock of being told he was doing something so trivially immoral was what cut him off. Tomura would never have the nerve or the idea to say something like that. Wolf One considered that this relationship would be wildly different from the one he had begun to cultivate with Tomura. Unknown territory, so to speak. "No more questions," Wolf One said. Midoriya pursed his lips tightly together and nodded. Wolf One checked to make sure he was holding still and texted Kurogiri to teleport them both directly to Kamino. All Might posters. When Midoriya said, "I have a feeling you're not going to like my decorations," what he meant to say was, "Every inch of the room you benevolently give me will be covered in All Might posters." Wolf One stood, horrified, in the doorway as Midoriya filled the remaining gap over his bed with a postcard from that ridiculous All Might theme park down south. "What is this?" he said. "I really like All Might." If Wolf One didn't know any better, he might think Midoriya was intentionally being a little shit. What Wolf One wanted to do was murder Midoriya's mother and the entire Bakugo family and completely obliterate all traces leading back to him. But he needed Midoriya to have some sense of normalcy in order to benefit from having him around. And in order for Midoriya to have a sense of normalcy, Wolf One could not A. kill Midoriya in Co., B. pull Midoriya out of school, or C. lock him in a closet for a week while he systematically burned every All Might-themed object in sight. So, although this little side project of his might have been putting him in a position of slight vulnerability, it was necessary to allow Midoriya these small freedoms. But of all the heroes, All Might was the one Midoriya chose? "This is unacceptable," Wolf One said. As a rule, he hated heroes, but if Midoriya wanted to engage in hero worship, he was not allowed to like the oath. He needed to pick a new favorite. "Any other hero I'll accept, not All Might. Pick a new favorite." Midoriya pressed his index finger into his chin, face screwed up. "I'll have to think about it. There are a lot of heroes I like." "Pick one less obnoxious," Wolf One said. If the next time he entered the room it was covered in present Mike merch, he might go on a murdering spree. "An underground hero, or a vigilante." "I love vigilante merch," Midoriya said, hopping down from his bed and trotting out the door. "It's so hard to get though, because most of the time it's like custom made and stuff, and it's so expensive." "I'll give you a credit card," Wolf One said, leading Midoriya down the hallway. After all, he had little intention to actually care for the boy. He just wanted to keep an eye on him, a very close eye. "You can buy whatever you need with it." Midoriya's eyes lit up, and Wolf One considered that giving him a credit card might be a mistake. But surely he couldn't do that much damage to Wolf One's incredibly vast accounts. What was he going to buy anyway that Wolf One wouldn't willingly give him? "No buying All Might merch with it," he said. Realizing the loophole, he glared sharply down at Midoriya before starting down the stairs to the bar. "This is an All Might-free household." "I think you should give All Might a chance," Midoriya said. "He's a very cool hero." "I don't even want to hear that name. Keep him out of it." Midoriya stuck out his bottom lip, which he was much too old to be doing, and nodded. "Okay, I'll find other hero posters and stuff instead." Wolf One didn't want other hero posters in his space either, but he could tolerate it, he supposed, as long as it wasn't All Might. Famous last words, a niggling little voice in his head said, but no, it couldn't ever be as bad as All Might. "No, Midoriya-kun," Wolf One said. "Call me Izuku, since you're my uncle," Midoriya said, climbing up at a stool at the bar. He didn't seem at all shocked by their location, or at all curious about why they were at a bar. Suspicious. Wolf One paused. "Well, fine. Izuku-kun, there are a few important things for you to know." "Right." Midoriya's eyes skimmed over the empty bar, the tables, the TV on the wall. His eyes caught on the door and then resumed their course around. "I'm very busy with work," Wolf One said, "so you'll mostly be interacting with a friend of mine who lives here. His name is Kurogiri." "Kurogiri?" Midoriya echoed. "Black Fog? Does that have to do with his quirk? Black Fog could be like—" "This kid was obsessed with quirks." "I'm not done speaking," Wolf One snapped. cutting off the beginnings of what could have been a very long ramble. You can ask him about his quirk yourself. Neither of us have much time for raising a child, so you'll mostly be by yourself. Food is under the counter. He pointed at the bar. Don't come down here past 8 at night, we often have guests. Kurogiri will take you to and from school. The words were like poison on his tongue. And you will do your homework without nagging.
I've never nagged in my life,
Midoriya declared, completely misunderstanding.
What's the Wi-Fi password?
I'm confiscating your computer, Ulf-1 said. I don't know what you've been doing to that thing, but there are at least 20 viruses. He had done a cursory glance over it while Midoriya unpacked and had found himself extremely disappointed in Midoriya's coding skills, or lack thereof. He would be burning the computer later.
I don't get viruses,
Midoriya said. There was no good response to that, so All-For-One just stared at him in disapproval until he ducked his head in acceptance. I'm going to get someone to tutor you in coding, All-For-One said, so that if you continue to go onto the dark side of the internet, you can at least protect yourself properly. Midoriya nodded, eyes downcast. Now, what questions do you have? Midoriya's mouth opened and All-For-One immediately regretted asking that. No. He cut Midoriya off before he could begin. I've changed my mind. Don't ask me anything. You can write down what questions you have and I'll answer them when I have time. Although he looked disappointed, Midoriya shut his mouth again. Go upstairs. Midoriya went upstairs. The credit card, in Izuku's opinion, was the best invention known to mankind. A credit card connected to an account with seemingly bottomless funds was exactly what he needed to expand his enterprises. He purchased more merch than he had ever purchased in his entire life, and in the meantime paid to ship all the All Might merch he had to put up in his room back to Musatafu. No way would he let Oji-san get rid of all that. He also brought even more All Might merch, but he sent it home instead of to the bar, because he figured the rule had not in fact been, don't buy any All Might merch. It had been, don't have any All Might merch in the house. Easy fix, buy All Might merch to use and buy later. After his mum returned and he could go back home to All Might merch heaven. Additionally, he purchased a few All Might themed objects for Kachan and sent them to his house. And he also purchased a tea set Mitsuki had mentioned wanting and sent that to her. And he also purchased an apron for his mother and sent that to her. His discussion with Oji-san about vigilantes had given him an idea. He'd yet to figure out if it was a good idea or not, but he had the idea and it was this. Be a vigilante. Why not? He had resources, he had time, his mom wasn't around, and Oji-san didn't really seem like he would care. And really, just by volunteering to live in the home of a supervillain, he was already making great contributions to society, so more contributions wouldn't hurt. As such, he bought a whole vigilante costume for himself, including such items as a green sweatshirt that he just kind of liked, a hat, All Might themed, he would need to find a place to hide this in his room, a scarf, also All Might themed, swim goggles, running shoes, All Might themed, pens, a hero-themed pack, and 24 notebooks, A7 Koyoku campus brand in several colors. He also purchased a book of hero-themed stickers, so he could decorate. It was around this point that Oji-san threw his door open and said, "What are you doing to my bank account?" Izuku shut his brand new laptop guiltily. He perhaps had gone overboard.
Nothing?
I can confiscate the credit card. The joke was on him. Izuku had the number memorized already.
Sorry?
Oji-san gave him a final glare and stormed off, muttering, 130 million yen. Hell. Izuku waited until his footsteps were gone before reopening the computer and purchasing a best genius lamp. Then he shut off the computer and decided to take a break from the spending of money. Really, he thought, he was doing the world a favour. Kurogiri was a man of few words. The boy All-For-One had kidnapped/adopted, on the other hand, had many words.
Does it hurt to teleport? Can you teleport people who aren't where you are? How do you know where to send your portals? Can you teleport anything? An aeroplane? I don't know why you would need to teleport an aeroplane since they can fly on their own. Where's your head? Do you have a head? Is that a rude question? Do you have skin? Can you teleport me? I want to try it. Does your portal work like through space or does it fold space? How does it work? Tell me everything.
He blinked expectantly at Kurogiri, pen poised over a fresh A7 Kokyo campus notebook in shade pink. I don't know how it works, Kurogiri said.
How are you talking? Do you have a mouth?
I haven't investigated.
Midoriya looked like he had just broken his favourite toy. You haven't? Why?
Get to school, Wolf One snapped from the next room over. You're wasting time talking, and it's distracting. Kurogiri had been doing none of that talking. He opened a portal for Midoriya. Have a nice day, he said.
Bye.
Midoriya stepped through the portal. Kurogiri heard him start muttering immediately on the other side, but he closed the portal before he could catch any of it. What a strange, strange boy. Kurogiri, Wolf One called. Kurogiri went to his office. Yes, I've made a grave, grave error. He gave Kurogiri the hapless look of a man who had gone far too deep. That boy is going to be the death of me. Kurogiri couldn't help but agree. Of both of us, sir. Alrighty, my little learners, that is a wrap of this one. So Izuku's at the bar now. He has been kidnapped, adopted by Wolf One. Knowingly. Jesus, chapter was amazing. And Kurogiri is in the house. Hell yeah, I love Kurogiri. He's amazing. So yeah, I love Izuku spending all the money on Wolf One's credit card, or well, one of his credit cards. That's amazing. So my little learners, that's a little reminder you might have something you need to check. I hope you will have a fantastic time wherever and whenever you may be. Day, night, dusk, dawn, low tide, high tide, whatever it is for you. You can call me Lovegood. And that was chapter 3 of How to Raise a Child Nemesis, titled 130 Million Yen by sabertoothhousecat on AO3. Again, the link to this fic will be in the pinned comment by me on this video, and tags are in the description as well as warnings. Bye, little learners.